Lesson 5, how do I determine the rate of change, slope, and y-intercept of functions represented in different ways? So the first thing we're going to do is start with a graph. So to find the rate of change or slope, we're going to pick 2 points on the graph, find the ratio of rise to run, and then simplify if needed. So I'm going to choose this point right here and this point right here. So now I'm going to find the ratio of rise to run. So to get to this point, let's see, let me draw this. I would go up 2, and I would go over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So my rise is 2, and my run is 6. If I simplify that, I get 1/3. So that means that my slope, m, is 1/3. Now to find where the y-intercept is, I just look at where the graph intersects the y-axis. Right here's my y-axis, and right there is where it's intersecting it, which is at +1. So B is how we represent the y-intercept. So B equals +1. So the rate of change of this graph is 1 to 3, 1/3. And the initial value or y-intercept is 1. 2 points. Okay, we're going to label the ordered pairs x1, y1, and x2, y2. Make a frame for slope formula, substitute the values, solve for m, and then simplify if needed. So I'm going to label this one x1, y1, and x2, y2. I'm going to make a frame. So that means I'm going to make my divide line and put my subtraction signs in advance. Now I'm going to substitute the values. So I need y2, y1. y2 is -5 and y1 is 11. Substitute x2 and x1. So x2 is -4 and x1 is 4. All right, now we're going to solve for m. -5 minus 11 is -16. -4 minus 4 is -8. And when I simplify, I get 2. So the slope is 2. All right, so now we're going to find the y-intercept. Substitute m, which we just determined was 2, and one of the ordered pairs into the equation for slope-intercept form. Solve for b to find the y-intercept. So first of all, I found that m equals 2. The slope was 2. Now I'm going to pick ordered pairs. I'm going to pick 4 and 11 and label them x, y. Now we're going to substitute into slope-intercept form. So y is 11, m is 2, x is 4, and then we have our plus b. All right, so now we're going to solve for b. 2 times 4 is 8. I'm solving for b, so that means I need to get rid of 8. So I'm going to subtract 8 from both sides. So 3 equals b. Okay, so the y-intercept will be 3. For a table, We're going to pick two ordered pairs, label them x1, y1, and x2, y2, and use the slope formula to find m. So I'm going to pick this one, x1, y1, and I'll do the next one, x2, y2. You can pick any ordered pairs. All right, now we're going to use the slope formula. So again, I'm going to make my frame and put my divide sign and my two minus signs. -2 and 1, 5 and 0. Okay, so I have -2 minus 1 is -3, and 5 minus 0 is 5. So the slope or rate of change is -3/5. Okay, when you have a table, when you want to find the y-intercept, you're going to find what y is when x is 0. So when x is 0, what y is. So in this table, it's already given me that. When x is 0, y is 1. So that means that my y-intercept is 1. Okay, when the equation is in slope-intercept form, we're going to find m. And when we find m, we know what the slope is. This equation is not in slope-intercept form. We want it to be y equals mx plus b, and it's not. So let's rearrange. I'm going to move 4x over here. 2y equals -4x plus 8. All right, I'm not done. It just needs to be y, not 2y. So I'm going to divide everything by 2. Y equals, well, -4 divided by 2 is -2. And 8 divided by 2 is 4. All right, now I have it in slope-intercept form. So this -2 is the slope. So when the equation is in slope-intercept form, find b. All right, so b is the y-intercept. It's in slope-intercept form, so that means that b equals 4. At page 9. Using rate of change and y-intercept to graph a function. So we're given y equals -2x plus 4. First step is we're going to mark b on the y-axis because we know b is the y-intercept. So this, first of all, is slope-intercept form. This is where you start. The y-intercept is also called the initial value. It's the starting point. So I'm going to mark that on the y-axis. So 4 is right here. Now I'm going to use m to mark the rise over run from the initial value of b. So right here is my rise over run. Rise over run. Well, my rise is -2. Since I don't have anything underneath, I can put a 1. That doesn't change the value. So that means from here, I'm going to go -2, 1. So it's not a rise if it's a -2, it's a sink. So I'm going to go down 2, right 1, down 2, right 1, down 2, right 1, and so forth until I have several points plotted. The more points, the more accurate the graph. Okay, graph the line. Don't be afraid to go all the way across that graph. Or all the way across the coordinate plane. All right, so now we have special cases. So if 0 is in the numerator, then that means that it equals 0. If a 0 is underneath, if it's in the denominator, it is undefined. So if we were to graph this, a 0, the line would look like this. And if we were to graph this, the line would look like this. Okay, moving on. So number 1, we are going to use this graph to find our slope. So I know slope is rise over run. So what I'm going to do is create this triangle. And now I'm going to find my rise. So from here to here would be my rise. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I went upward, so it would be a positive 6. And now I'm going to do my run. 1, 2, 3, positive 3. So rise over run is 6 over 3, which equals 2. All right, now we need to find the y-intercept. That is where it crosses the y-axis, which is right here. So that means that our y-intercept is -3. Okay, let's write that in slope-intercept form. Y equals m, well, m is 2, x, and then our b is -3. So this is the graph that represents the equation, or the equation that represents the graph. Number 2, find slope. So again, I'm going to make my triangle. So my rise, well, in this case, I'm not rising, I'm going down. I'm going down 2. And now I'm going to run 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, positive 6. Okay, so that is -2 over 6, which simplifies to -1/3. Okay, y-intercept. Right here is where it intersects the y-axis, which is at 1. So that is 1. Put it in slope-intercept form. Y equals -1/3 x plus 1. Y equals m x plus b. Okay, next one, number 3. Now we're given an equation. So first of all, we need to get this into slope-intercept form. So I'm going to do some rearranging. I need y by itself. So I'm going to add 5 to both sides. Y equals 2/3 x, and -8 plus 5 is -3. All right, so now I have my m, or slope, and I have my y-intercept, -3. So 2/3 and -3. All right, well, we've already rewritten the equation, so we're going to just rewrite it here. 2/3 x minus 3. Okay, next one. We need it in y equals format, so we're going to move him. y equals -3x plus 7. So -3 is the slope and 7 is the y-intercept. -3 and 7. And again, we already converted this into slope-intercept form, so we will just rewrite it on the line. All right, page 10. Now we have a table. So for the table, we are going to label x1, y1, x2, y2, and then use slope formula to find the slope. So I'm going to pick these, x1, y1, and x2, y2. Again, you can pick any, and they don't even have to be next to each other. Okay, slope frame. And substitute y2 is -3 and y1 is -5. x2 is -3 and x1 is -9. Okay, time to solve. So we know that this becomes a big old positive. -3 plus 5 is 2. This becomes a big old positive. -3 plus 9 is 6. And then we can simplify to 1/3. So that means that the slope is 1/3. Okay, for the y-intercept, we need to find where x is 0. Then this is y-intercept. So -2. Let's write it in the right format. Y equals 1/3 x minus 2. Number 6, label x1, y1. I'm going to do these. Slope frame. Substitute 6 minus 6 and 8 minus 5. And solve. 6 minus 6 is 0 and 8 minus 5 is 3. Well, if we have a 0 in the numerator, then that equals 0. So our slope is 0. Now we have to determine what our y-intercept is. And this time, they did not give us a 0. So we're going to have to figure this out. Well, if I look, there is a pattern. All of these inputs have exactly one output, but all of those outputs are the same. So that means that if 0 were my input, my output would also be 6. So the y-intercept is 6. So if I were to write that, it would look like y equals mx plus b. We know anything times 0 is 0. So this is y equals 6. 0 plus 6 is 6. So this is the equation for the table. All right, number 7. Okay, again, we're going to label x1, y1, x2, y2, and use our slope formula. Start with our frame. 5 and -3. 6 and 2. Solve. We know this becomes a positive, so we end up with 8. 6 minus 2 is 4. And when we simplify, we get 2. So our slope is 2. All right, now we've got to find our y-intercept. So I'm going to need my slope. And I'm going to need an ordered pair. I'm going to pick 6 and 5 since they're both positive, makes it a little bit easier. Okay, let's substitute into slope-intercept form. So y is 5, m is 2, x is 6, and now we're going to solve for b. 5 equals 12 plus b. Subtract 12 from both sides. -7 equals b. Okay, so now we're ready to write it in slope-intercept form. Y equals 2x minus 7. Number 8, label, frame, substitute, solve. So our slope is -2. Time to find b, our y-intercept. So m equals -2. I'm going to pick an ordered pair. Doesn't matter which one. Substitute those values into slope-intercept form. And solve. So b is 0. So when I write that, it would be y equals mx plus 0. So I don't even need to put it. The equation for these ordered pairs is y equals -2x. All right, number 9. So for number 9, I need to determine first my slope and then my y-intercept. So given this equation, I know that this is my slope and this is my y-intercept. So my slope is -3 and my y-intercept is 4. Okay, so let's graph that. Remember, you always start at the end. You start with b. So I'm going to find 4 on my y-intercept or axis. My slope is -3, so I'm going to put that over 1. So this is rise over run. So instead of rising, I'm actually going to sink because it's negative. So down 3, right 1, down 3, right 1, down 3, right 1. All right, I have enough pairs or points now to create my graph. Again, making it go all the way across my coordinate plane. Okay, number 10. So this is my slope and this is my y-intercept. So slope is 2/3 and the y-intercept is -3. So we start at -3. Rise over run. So I'm going to rise 2, run 3. Rise 2, run 3. Rise 2, run 3. Okay. And that is number 10.